All right, you all. Welcome, everyone. Really excited to see some familiar faces and names. We've got a few folks from the Trustworthy team here, and you'll hear from a number during our conversation today. The intent is to kind of get you up to speed on some of the newest resources we have, product updates, and then do a Q&A. So now I will present this lovely slide with you. Oh, that's too big. Okay. So here we go. Nat, Kyle, and I are going to talk through a number of different opportunities. It'll make more sense in just a second when I go through the agenda. Here is a growing list of folks on the TCE team. We really appreciate everything that you are doing, the communication, the connections, and getting involved with Trustworthy. It's been a really exciting group to get to know. And I hope that if I've not spoken to you yet, that we get to speak soon. Today, we are going to talk about some of the events and partnerships that we have recently either attended or joined. We've got some additional assets in the resource hub. We are noticing that it's really, really effective when you are able to use Trustworthy for your own family. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Kyle is going to walk us through some product features, which are always very exciting. He'll have a few demos and a few other exciting how-to videos to share. Don, who leads our content team, he has been really focused on some solutions, not only for you, but for the clients. So a lot of focus on elderly parents right now, and I shared some of those links later on in the slides. And then we've got some fun social media I guess posts and stories from a lot of you all. I've got some to share, and then we will end with a QA. So Nat, if you would like to walk us through a few of the recent events and partnerships, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Hi, folks. Great to see everyone. Here's a little bit of what we've been up to lately as we've been evangelizing digital organization across the states. I can't remember, it was April, or I think it was April, we were in LA for an evening with the NAPO LA chapter at the Container Store there in Los Angeles, which was great to meet some of the Container Store folks and some of the folks from the local chapter. That was kind of an experiment. I think LA is one of the bigger chapters for NAPO, and we wanted to see if that was something we want to continue to do. We had a great experience there, and imagine doing those kinds of things more often. We got an award earlier this year from Fast Company for being an innovative provider of technology. And so they had this innovation festival a couple of weeks ago in New York. They do it every year. It was really inspiring and great to be part of the conversation there. Some of the big takeaways is that's absolutely, one of the publications and communities we want to stay connected to as we bring digital organization to more and more families. Then right on the heels of that was the How-To Summit in Austin. It's another big organization community some of you may have heard of, about 400 professional organizers. And we were there again, evangelizing digital organization with folks and recruiting from that membership or from that community. Went really well. This is an image from our booth at the event. They had a very specific color palette. So it was fun to see Trustworthy on a pink background, which violated all of our brand guidelines, but that's okay. We wanted to be fully integrated into that community. It was a really fun event. It was a whole vibe. Then actually right after that, I was in DC at the AARP Age Tech Collaborative Summit. They have one summit a year. Trustworthy's just gone through the Age Tech Collaborative Accelerator. And the point of this is really getting access to the 39 million members in AARP and being able to evangelize Trustworthy product and services to that community. When we think about older folks, we really think about the service component, especially for baby boomers, because they didn't grow up with the kind of technology that we have today. They're not all as comfortable, and so I'm generalizing here. Some are very comfortable. They're not all as comfortable with technology, and they're really looking for help, or their families are looking for help in getting their estates organized. We still hear all too often from this generation specifically, dad passed away, and when that happened, it was kind of a nightmare because he'd been running, the household or the finances for a long time, and we really had to unpack it. So getting ahead of that problem is really top of mind and urgent for the kids. We have solutions where they buy this bundle for their aging parents, and we work with Trustworthy certified experts to go in and help the parents get their household set up, get the kids added as collaborators, and get the whole system dialed in before that eventual estate transition. So that's a big part of the reason we've been working with AARP and how we see that playing out. Then right on the heels of that was NASM in Chicago, which Kyle and Catherine were at. I heard it was great this year, and had lots of traffic by the booth. Again, evangelizing digital organization for the senior move manager community. Again, really tightly tied to this great wealth transfer moment that we're having as baby boomers retire. They represent a lot of the biggest part of wealth in America today, and trying to help facilitate the transfer of that, the smooth transfer of that wealth to subsequent generations, along with the legacy wishes of those folks. Pals in Atlanta is coming up. Professionals of Afterlife Service is another group that we work with. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure why this is here. The solution for aging parents is something I just talked about. It's something we launched a couple of months ago, and that we've trialed with a few families. So we're seeing that take hold. We have the American Association of Digital Money Managers, Daily Money Managers annual conference coming up. That's another group that we're working with alongside professional organizers. Good cohesiveness there. Another group, the other groups that we're looking to are fiduciaries and sort of caretakers as well. We have another event coming up in November, the Senior Living and Post-Acute Care Workshop, again, targeting this elderly audience. So hopefully you get a sense of, we're doing a lot of work to get the Trustworthy name out there, to get these solutions for families, particularly elderly families out there, so that we can land more services work for all of you in connecting with families and elderly folks to help get their systems established and trustworthy.
Perfect. Thank you. And the Trustworthy Solutions for Aging Parents, it should say webinar after that. That's an upcoming webinar, and you all will be invited to that as well. And we will also be including members, so it'll be a great chance to meet some of that community as well. In the resource hub, which I've linked a number of times in this presentation, that is a bookmark that I would keep on your bookmark bar, because we're consistently adding new resources. So one of the most recent ones were some legacy assets documentation. We've talked about adding an emergency contact and what would happen if someone passes, and how to get access to their accounts. And then the most recent was the social media kit. I've not shared this in the Google group quite yet, but wanted to give you a sneak peek. Catherine on our design team has created this for you. You're welcome to use it if you would like. That's, have fun with it. And then, of course, we've got all the checklists and logos and other client service agreements, all sorts of documentation. This list continues to get filled by requests from you all. So if you find a gap and you're like, oh, I need a one pager on how to sell to a previous client or something like that. We've got a resource request doc that I will also reshare. And that's, to help us make sure that you all are supported in your efforts. Trustworthy for your family. With your certification, you all also got a membership, and that's another great way to see the new product updates, some features and benefits, some tips and tricks. We've got newness. Kyle and team, newness is happening all of the time, and there are actually alerts in the platform that can help you try them out. And we just know from hearing story after story that TCEs feel most confident are most successful when they're actually practicing on their family as well. From that experience, we've also gotten feedback around some of the features and benefits you'll hear about from Kyle. Search was one of them. We were, working on it, but once we learned that this group was really craving that, we were able to kind of bubble that to the top and make that a priority. So that feedback loop is incredibly necessary. And again, I'm always here to support. So please reach out and add your thoughts and ideas into the request doc.
Yeah, I'll just want to add that we had a discussion about this in the last couple of weeks. We had a prospect or an expert say, "Oh, I want more training, want more rigor around the training for Trustworthy, so I feel more confident." And one of the things that we recommended they do was, well, look, have you adopted Trustworthy for your own family yet? Going through the process of doing this with your family and your loved ones and maybe your parents is probably the best way to get familiar with Trustworthy and the platform, the ins and outs, questions that might come up. And obviously it's something that we aspire to have all of you fully adopted and Trustworthy. And if that's not the case, would love to hear why, what's holding you back. Is it time? Is it questions? Is it concerns? Because your clients will have exactly those same concerns or questions, right? Or what we call hidden sort of hidden barriers. There's a story that we talk about all the time at Trustworthy right now called the new couch problem, right? And there's this company that was selling couches. They were doing well, but they felt like they could do better. And what they discovered in talking to their customers was, hey, I'm not buying a new couch because I can't figure out what to do with my existing couch. And so those are sort of the hidden problems that we're trying to discover. Is it you need more time? Is it you want a coach? Is it that you are worried about security? Is it whatever else it is? We want to help discover those, and we really don't get that without getting the feedback and from folks who are using the system. And because you're all insiders, you should feel very comfortable in telling us and being transparent, like, I have these concerns, or I heard these concerns from my clients, and making sure that we hear that and address it. We're constantly trying to knock down those questions and concerns and find efficient ways to answer them so that people do feel comfortable, and that the system gets better for everyone as we go. So I think the other element for us is knowing that you're using the system makes us feel really good about you as evangelists, right? And that you're going to feel very sincere in saying, look, I trust Trustworthy with my information, and I'm sort of advocating for it from that point of view. I can wholeheartedly say that myself. Our family is all in on Trustworthy, and all of our sensitive information is in there. So hopefully you feel confident the same way. If you don't, we'd love to hear why.
Thanks, Nat. Another really cool thing that we've done with some of that feedback, or when someone's having, either a member or a TCE is having trouble with something, Kyle is really good at showing through how-to videos how to fix that problem or navigate that issue differently. And so we've started collecting them, and that link right there will take you to all of those. So let's say a client is having a hard time finding their inbox, or don't know how to use a feature for some reason. More than likely, they're not the first. And even if they are, we can make another video and add it to this collection. But we've found it to be a really great resource hub, especially for our support center. And so that's also, when you're using it yourself, this is another great resource to use.
I just want to mention about these. These were not designed necessarily for public consumption. They're done in the context of support tickets, typically, where people are like, I want to track medical information, you know, of a medical category. What should I do? And there's like strategies for what people are doing now. So these are, it's just a big page of a bunch of how-to videos for various reasons. As you go further down the list, the application gets older, so you're going to see some old UIs and things like that, but the concepts are still the same. Over time, we'll try and have a better solution for these types of things. But for now, I use Loom, and I upload these videos to Loom, and then I share them with people in our support queue, and they're aggregated here. So it's a good resource for all those nooks and crannies that are not always top of mind, but you run into in the course of trying to go live with Trustworthy. So it's a good resource.
Yeah, or put these in the realm of workarounds or hacks to get Trustworthy to do something, and maybe it doesn't do specifically today. And obviously, you know, these are sort of interim fixes as we work to build out the components that people are looking for, like a medical category, which I'm sure Kyle is going to talk about in a minute.
Yep.
Marie, there's two resources that I want to make sure these folks have access to or know about, and I may not be in the resource kit yet. One is this Peace of Mind article that is a very high profile piece where we took 5 customers and went deep on understanding why they adopted Trustworthy and sort of told their stories. Really, really great across the spectrum from younger to older families. The other one is a print ad that we ran at the How To conference that might be useful. We had a photo manager who was asking for it specifically, and that may not be in the kit yet. Yeah, there's the link to the Peace of Mind piece. That's on trustworthy.com. I think you can also get it as a PDF if you want to hand that to someone. That might be a good piece to add into the kit if it's not there already. And then I'll share that print article with you, Marie, and we can get that print ad, get that uploaded as well.
Okay, perfect. The PDF is uploaded into the resource kit. I don't know that I have a specific call out for it in this deck, but I will add it before sharing with you all.
Yeah, the other thing, one big takeaway from all the events that we've been doing, talking to professional organizers, is this idea that digital organization is way easier than the work that you regularly do, meaning, hey, I'm sitting here next to the client, I'm taking the paper and scanning it and organizing it in Trustworthy. That's way easier than unpacking or carrying boxers or moving things. Or that was one thing that sort of surprised me, frankly, but was a great sort of discovery in how we tell the story about digital organizing, that you can charge your same rate and do work that's way easier. And I think that's got magnified by some of the older folks that we're talking to. Like, someone said to me, I've been doing this for 5 years. I don't think my body's going to support me doing this much longer. I'm excited to learn more about digital organizing. So just something that you probably all well aware of, but it was a great discovery for us.
Absolutely. And just really quickly, while these how-to hack videos are kind of for us, we do also have a YouTube channel for the public, and I have linked that in this deck. So there are multiple opportunities. I don't want you to think they're all clumped in one. We've separated them out for easy access. Let me get back. And now Kyle is going to walk us through some product updates.
Yeah, so let's I'll talk through some of these, and then a couple of them I'll show. Search is something. Okay, there we go. So search is something that we've been missing for a while. We've been in beta with it. So some of you may have seen search. It may have been enabled on your accounts. It wasn't enabled across the board. Either tomorrow or Friday, it should be enabled for all accounts within Trustworthy. I'll look at that in a second and show you what that means and talk about where we're going to go with search next. The other thing that's on this list, reminders on iOS. It used to be on the iOS app, you could see existing reminders, but you couldn't create new reminders on the fly, like new custom reminders. Let's say you wanted to remind yourself to change your HVAC filter for a particular house on a certain date. You couldn't do that on iOS. You can now. It's in there now. So you can manage and update reminders, create new reminders on the fly on your mobile app. We had some requests from a lot of our members for if they uploaded Word files or Excel files or Max number files. You couldn't preview those in Trustworthy. Those are previewable now. So you can get a preview of an Excel file, etc. You're not able to edit these files live in Trustworthy. That's something we might consider in the future, but you can preview them inside Trustworthy. On iOS, we've been refactoring all our different categories to add a new design that makes it faster and easier and slightly more accessible to get stuff in. So that's been sort of flowing through the iOS app. Probably tomorrow we're going to be releasing an update to the family IDs category on iOS to implement this new design. It's just a lot more intuitive as you work through updating, say, a family ID. Autopilot suggestions have been improved. We're handling a lot more document types. We're autofilling a lot more fields. This is an ongoing process that never changes. We just keep adding more and more doc support and more bells and whistles around how we can create new tiles for you. So we'll talk a bit about, when we talk about what's coming next, we'll talk a bit about some new directions we're going with that. Archiving tiles was a hot feature request from some of our TCEs as well as other members. We'll look at that in a moment. So you can archive tiles, and I'll take you through that in a demo. Inside the web app, the detail page. So let's say you click on an insurance tile, you land on a page. That page has a new redesign just to make it more extensible, such that we want to add a lot more content to that in the future and make it a lot more flexible. So we need to implement a new design. Most of you have had experience with email to inbox, like forwarding an email that has an attachment to a trustworthy email address. In the last month or so, we added a confirmation email such that when you forward an email to Trustworthy, once it's done ingesting the document or documents, it will email you a confirmation to tell you it's been successful, or an error message if it's had some problem with those documents for some reason. One other thing that just launched is we do a lot of reminder emails, or when you assign a task to somebody, it sends an email to them. Now, when you click the links in those emails, whether it's a reminder email or a task, it'll take the user directly to that item, whether it's on desktop or mobile. That was a big improvement. We had to add something called deep links to support that, but that just launched recently. You can now drag and drop files within sections on a given page. So let's say you were on a business and you want to drag something from formation documents to additional documents, you could do that. You still can't drag files from one tile to another. So let's say you want to move a file from a business over to a tax tile. You still can't do that, but we're working on a solution for that as well. You can also now add custom logos to every single tile. Some tiles have like a little circle, like it's a picture of your house or a picture of your face. And some tiles you can add those, like let's say it's a password, there's no logo on it, but you can add logos to those now. And one last thing I wanted to mention, to help our users engage with Trustworthy and convert from like a trial to a paid subscriber, we've revamped our welcome email flow. So when people sign up, they get a lot of feature discovery emails about sort of showing the value of all the different features that we have and how those lead to success when managing their household information. So that was a long time incoming. We've gone through various iterations, and now we've settled on one that's it's kind of like a 14-day email cycle that drips product information to people and value to people, such that we'll have more people convert and more people will be reaching out for TCA help as well. So let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to look briefly at search and maybe archiving tiles. Those are kind of pretty decent ones. All right, I'm going to start on web. In your header bar on web, so some of you will have this now, some will start to see it later this week as we move to general availability for search. Search, you can click on this thing, or if you're on a Mac, Command K will open search. On Windows, Control K will open search. And the way this works is you can type in whatever you're thinking of, whatever you're trying to search for. So let's say I wanted to search for some bank accounts that I have with HSBC. I can just start typing in HSBC. It's going to pull in, not only is it pulling in the bank accounts themselves that are in my finance category, but it's looking across relationships. So these bank accounts are linked to businesses or trusts. And not only do I see my bank accounts, but I see who the bank account owners are, and they're a trust and an LLC. So it brings these relationships in. So if I search for a vehicle, for example, it would also return the insurance related to that vehicle. You can also search for, let's say I was searching for something where I have a lot of files in here, Toyota. Not only will I find my vehicle that's represented in my property category, but other files that might be related to that, like my registration, brake repairs, other stuff that comes up. I see insurance. I see my Sequoia. I can see a loan that's related to that vehicle. So it's bringing everything related to all the Toyotas that I have. So search is very versatile. If I was to click on a file, it's going to jump me right into the file itself. And when I click back, I'll land on sort of the page on which that file is stored. If I open up my search again, if I was to click on what's represented by a tile, for example, it'll show up here. I'll be able to go directly to that tile. And let's see if I have something in here. Within your pages, here, I'll go to one of these pages. There's a section called additional files, or it used to be called additional files. You can create sort of unlimited folders on any page where you're storing files. It might be maintenance or repair receipts. It could be closing docs for a property. When you create those folders themselves are searchable as well. So you'll see the little folder icon. And when I click on it, it's going to take me to the page where that folder exists. So here's my repair and maintenance folder. That's what those file folders are in search. It's like these. So for example, you see this one called purchase docs. That should be searchable as well if I look for purchase. So I'll see that folder and it'll take me right to the page where that folder is. Okay, because some people store files called like tax receipts 2024 on the tax filing. If you search for tax receipts, those folders will come up. It'll help you get there as well. Okay, so search is on desktop, and let me switch to iOS for a second. I'll just show you an idea there. So on iOS, you'll also see search not only on your For You page, which is the sort of landing dashboard, but also on your Browse tab, you'll see search at the top as well. And it works in the same sort of way. If I typed in HSBC, for example, I'll get those bank accounts and the account owners as well. So search is on mobile and it's on desktop, and everyone will have it later this week. Okay. Search is always going to evolve. One thing that we're not doing right now is we're not ingesting all of the document content. Let's say I uploaded a trust and there's 25,000 words inside this trust. We're not searching on all those words yet. It's something we're investigating, whether or not we can help you search across all your document content that's in Trustworthy. It's one of our goals. We're not there yet because of security and privacy concerns with our search engine, but we're working on solutions for that. And some data, you've probably heard us talk about the word tokenized before. Some data is tokenized, meaning we don't really store it in our database. It's sort of split up and stored elsewhere to keep it safe. Document content is like that. So we're trying to figure out how we can search for it. One other thing I wanted to talk about, let me go to my property category. There's a feature that's universal throughout Trustworthy now. It's called archiving. This came up a lot from people who, your life is always changing. Your household data is changing. You might sell a car. You might sell a boat. You might sell a house. Someone might pass away. A pet might pass away. You can archive those tiles, which allows you to sort of hide it from your view to clean up and reduce some of the noise, but it's still recoverable and searchable. If you need it, you can still retrieve it. So here's how that works. Let's say I sold this Park City ski chalet. I could use my little kebab menu. I've heard all sorts of terms, falafel menu, all sorts of stuff here. You can use this menu and you'll see archive here. And I can archive this tile. And essentially what happens is once I've archived a tile, if there's an archive tile on a page, you get this little toggle. So you can see how that tile disappeared, but there's a toggle at the top, and I can show my archived items. They show sort of grayed out and it's slightly different treatment, but I can still access it. Okay, if I need to retrieve this information. This sort of happened to me where I had sold a home, archived the tile. I'm like, I'm never going to need it. And then I kept getting property tax receipts for like 2 years from this home, where they're like, you owe us property tax. And it was helpful for me to still have the core information and all these little property tax documents on here. So archiving helps you retain that information and recall it when you need it. It's also available in search. So if I search for
Your ski chalet.
ski chalet, you'll see it here in search. It's showing as archived. It's grayed out sort of, but it's still accessible here as well. And the same happens on mobile. So on mobile, how you archive things is slightly different, but let me jump there just to show you how that works. So let's say I go into property. Again, on mobile here, we can see this toggle at the top to show the archived items. To archive an item on mobile, you need to first tap into the item to get in there. And in the top right, there's this falafel menu, and you can grab archive, or the meatball menu. I've heard all sorts of good terms for this 3 dots, the ellipses menu. So you can see archive there. Okay, one thing I just wanted to highlight as well, we talked about this onboarding email sequence. So this is a series of sort of feature discovery emails where we're driving people to uncover new features. Here's an example of one where we're talking about email to inbox. So this will come like on day 6 of after someone signs up. They've gotten a series of emails up to now, and then we're going to show them, here's your unique email address that you can forward to. You can add this to your contacts, and then you can start to forward emails to this address. So you'll see a lot of these different emails, or our users will see these as they sign up, and this is going to lead to, hoping lead to more conversions and more paying users. Okay, so that gives you a sense of some of the things that are new. We could go, forever on this. There's so much new stuff, but the best way to learn this stuff is to start using the system for your family. And if you have questions, you can reach out to support to any one of the support@trustworthy.com, and we'll help you out, or just hit this chat button here, and we'll get answers for you. Okay,
Awesome.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. I'll start. Okay, cool. Cal, do you also want to talk about a few of these upcoming?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. Coming soon and coming later. I know later is sort of nebulous as a term, but coming soon is obviously search being available for everybody is coming like super soon. The other things that we're working on is bundling files for sharing. So right now in Trustworthy, if you want to share a file directly with somebody through a feature we have called Secure Links, it's one file at a time that you can share. Our goal here is to allow you to bundle files up and share those. And we're probably going to be looking at ways to password protect the share or come up with a security code. Right now, once you share something, people can access the link, but it's not restricted to just the person you sent it to. Anybody who gets that link could essentially download those files or look at those files. So one thing we're going to try and do is lock it down to a specific recipient. But first, we're going to work on bundling. So let's say you need to share a bunch of files with maybe your kid is joining a friend for a camping excursion, and you want to send the friend's parents a list of all the things related to your kid. Here's his allergies, here's his prescriptions, here's whatever other details. You can share all those files at once through this bundles. One other thing that we're working on internally, we're calling this initiative mini tools. It's essentially smaller tools that help people in a pinch in their lives of using Trustworthy. The first one we're working on is a eulogy or obituary writer to help people get over that hump of not being able to know where to start with things like this. We get a ton of traffic to our site with people who've recently lost a loved one, and this is a hot topic for them. We want to be able to help in this situation, and then turn those people into trustworthy users who will leverage our services and your services to get up and running.
Yeah, I'll just add, this is one of like 10 to 20 mini tools that we imagine creating kind of at the top of the funnel, where people will find a piece of our content about a particular life moment that they're having, and then we'll introduce them to a mini tool to discover some of the functionality around Trustworthy. and that's a way for them to discover the brand and sign up and learn more as they go.
Yeah, the next one down is something that's in development now. It's like improved flows for users on collaboration. A lot of our customers that invite collaborators, which is important. Trustworthy certified expert is a type of collaborator that people can invite, but it's not always intuitive. Typically, one thing that we've remarked on is sometimes we ask you to do stuff, and then we tell you about what you just did instead of telling you what's going to happen when you take these steps. So we're trying to be more educational along the way about how and when do you invite collaborators, who should you invite, and sort of interjecting this recommendation in the moment. So let's say you just uploaded a bunch of bank accounts into Trustworthy. Now would be a good time to recommend to that user to invite their wealth advisor to Trustworthy. So these are the types of things that we're trying to do, is improve these collaborator flows and get Trustworthy spread more widely across a diverse set of people.
I'll add, this is a key element for us in helping the family be organized and prepared. That if the person, the core customer or the account holder comes to us and builds this and never shares it with anyone, it's not very useful to them as a family. So we know that lots of folks will invite their spouse at some point on the journey, quite often pretty early, but they should at least be inviting legacy contacts, folks who have no access today but could unlock it in the future if something were to happen. Probably also some limited access collaborators across their professional network, the estate planning attorney, the accountant, the wealth advisor, whatever they have. Helping your clients realize this as you're onboarding them, getting them to them Trustworthy is really core, and it's a great way for you to discover potential other clients for you to work with. Hey, do you want to invite your brother or sister as a limited access collaborator? Do you want to invite your adult children or parents? Do you want to invite some other trustee or guardian? And them discovering Trustworthy might be an unlock for you in getting new business, and potentially working with your clients' relatives as well.
The next one on the list, reminder and notification customization. Right now, Trustworthy does a lot of reminders, and you don't have that much control over how those come out. So we're going to be retooling that to allow you to decide which items you want reminders on, what frequency you want reminders on, what lead time you need for reminders. Do you want it over email or push notifications, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some configuration that's coming to reminders and notifications to allow people to customize that in more detail. The last one on the coming soon list, we just added, we've had some requests for people who are engaging with our customers remotely to help them organize Trustworthy. So they're connecting remotely and helping that customer get stuff off of their, a drive or a Dropbox or email and get it into Trustworthy. And we saw some people doing complex things with TeamViewer and different tools. Zoom has this capability to allow you to take control of someone's screen. You can ask permission to request screen control, and then the user can accept that permission. Then you have control over their screen. You can even get control over like their file folders and things like that if you need to help them move files around Trustworthy and log in remotely that way. So this is something it's hard to demo Zoom when we're inside Google Meet. Marie and I practiced the other day, and it worked. You could do it, but it was just a lot of infinity mirrors and things like that. So we're going to put together a video. We'll probably add it to like the resource hub or the how-to videos just to show you how you can request screen control using Zoom if you are collaborating remotely with a customer.
And this is great for clients in more remote areas, right? Where so far we have decent coverage across most of the states, most major metro areas. We're obviously adding some more, but in smaller towns, we've had people drive, I think, at the most like an hour and a half to meet with that client. But maybe doing remote is a better solution than having to drive back and forth to get that client. So we're excited to sort of expand coverage, give you more clients with this remote capability.
Looking at the coming later, which is, it could be this quarter, it could be first quarter next year. It's kind of the window that we're looking at. One of the items is when you upload a file, let's say it's a auto insurance policy. One of the things that we do now is when you upload that file and it lands in the inbox, we can suggest, our autopilot will suggest, create a new tile that represents this insurance policy and move these items there, and we'll autofill some things. We'll put in the policy holders, we'll put in the vehicles if they exist, etc. One thing that we'd like to be able to do, instead of just creating the auto insurance tile and autofilling like policy numbers, and we want to be able to create the vehicles as tiles within Trustworthy if they don't already exist. We want to be able to create the covered drivers as family IDs if they don't already exist. Maybe even create a real estate property that matches the address on that insurance policy, so that we can, one single file can build out 5 or 6 tiles in Trustworthy. So after you've uploaded a dozen files, you're pretty much populated. Everything's sort of coming together. So now we get you pretty far along in helping you expedite creation of these tiles in Trustworthy, but we can take it even further as well. Calendar integration. This will probably dovetail off of the work that we do around reminders. So once we sort of retool how we're going to do reminders, it's possible that we can integrate these to a calendar. So you could generate a link to a feed and like put that in your Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, so you can start to see your Trustworthy reminders on your calendar, like renew passport, change filter, insurance policies ending, things like that. Medical category. This is a pretty hot one, especially when we're dealing with elderly parents or children who are trying to invite parents. So this could be everything from tracking prescriptions and lab results and diagnoses, things like that. So generally tracking medical data as it pertains to a person or a person within your household. So that's something that we've got designs for it. We've consulted with a number of customers who are pretty keen on this. So I think it's something that will probably be beta-ing, I don't know, Q1 next year if the rest of these other items come together smoothly. Print Trustworthy. I know sometimes it's counterintuitive to take your digital docs or your physical docs and digitize them and then want to print them. But this comes up printing as like a backup, and printing as like another, I don't know, safety blanket for a lot of people who are used to physical documents. So we want to be able to output all of the data from Trustworthy into a printable PDF with sections and table of contents, so it's easy to find, or you could break that PDF up into like tab folders or something like that. It just serves as a nice backup, and it's probably something once we build it that will remind you on some regularity to print a backup copy every time things change.
This is actually an answer to one of those new couch problems, right? Like, oh, what happens? How long has Trustworthy been in business? What happens if Trustworthy goes out of business? What do I do? Right. So we have this download option today where you can download all the files and get the data out, but we want to make that an even better experience, and so that it's much more formatted and presented more professionally. You know, in some ways, it's like Kyle said, it's the opposite of what we want people to do, but it gives them that sort of added layer of protection. You know, not if we go out of business, but they just decide, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. At least I can get my information out into a format, and I've spent all this time and effort getting it in there. Let me get it out into a format that I can preserve. It won't help them keep it up to date, of course, but you know, at least it's not, they don't feel locked in. They feel like there's always an out. And that's one of the things we discovered in talking to customers is like, I would do it, but I just don't want to be locked in. What happens if you go out of business? So those kinds of queries that we get. It's also to be completely transparent, from a business point of view, we see things like Knockbox, which you probably come across as basically an expensive file folder. So we're trying to sort of cater to that side of the market as well, if that's something that people want.
And the last item here, Android app, doesn't need much explanation. We're only on iOS right now, so we're ramping up to get the Android app underway. And and we'll probably be beta-ing that. So this group will be, I'll make sure everyone on this group has early access. I don't know if you're Android users or iOS, but I know my Android's my daily driver, and we encounter a lot of people. It's our probably tied with medical category for number one feature requests. So it's definitely something that we want to see. Now, these are the things that we're talking about that have sort of clearer explanations. There's a lot of things that could come up as well. We're looking at sort of how do we calculate net worth for people? How do we add values to bank statement or bank accounts or real estate and things like that? So you might see other evolutions sneak in here as we get going, as we look at further integrations with other other tools that can help us get bank account values or property values or vehicle values, so we can come up with net worths and things like that. Mandy's got a question in here about where is editing autopilot content in the development plan. Something we talked about just a couple of days ago. There's a couple gotchas with this, but it is something that we're aware of. So when you upload a document, there's like these autopilot details that show up that'll show you all these like facts about the document. Sometimes it can get those wrong, but there's no way to edit them. I think this will sort of dovetail with where editing of that data is most important is when we're going to make that data searchable. So if we're going to make that data searchable and we get to that point, we need to make sure the data is accurate if you're going to be searching for it. So all that, it's on the roadmap, Mandy. I don't know exactly where it lands. There's a couple like gotchas that came out of our discussion with that, and it turned into a slightly bigger project than what I thought. But that's definitely something we need, is to be able to edit that data that's returned by AI.
Frank is on the call, or he was on the call. It's a good opportunity to introduce Frank. Is he still here?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So Frank is our head of data science and is the giant brain behind Autopilot and the magic that it does. Do you want to add anything to that answer, Frank?
Maybe subtract from giant brain. I think the technology makes me look smarter than I am. But yeah, I wanted to just be in here to hear from you guys and hear what the sort of things that you're dealing with in terms of like what's useful about Autopilot, what could be better, what are you seeing? I have very little insight into how customers use things. So if there's something that seems counterintuitive in what you're seeing from Autopilot, it probably is, because it's all based on me coming up with, synthetic documents to develop off of. I don't see any customer data when trying to build things out. So any light that can be shed on that, any questions you guys have or whatever, I'm here to be a resource and work with you guys to make it even better.
Frank, what's the best way for them to give feedback around, okay, I just imported this document, some of these things were wrong. There's this facility in Trustworthy to give feedback, right?
Yes. So we do have a feedback thing where it's like in the pop-up where if you hit thumbs up or thumbs down, I think it opens a feedback form where you can give additional information about reclassifying it, which of the fields were wrong, anything in there. Yeah, so that's one way. I think that's one way to get it. I think also you can email me if you're able to. It's most useful if I can see documents, but customers aren't always going to want that. But if they're willing to share, if you're willing to share whatever, feel free to email me, ask me questions.
So if everyone's sort of like on the document, you can hit details. There's a thumbs up, thumbs down at the bottom, and that takes you to another dialogue where you can give more specific feedback. That feedback goes right to Frank and his team. It's incredibly helpful if you have time to, or you're like, hey, this was wrong, I want to let you know. That's really, really, really helpful.
Thank you. In the interest of time, because I do want us to have an opportunity to chat, I'm going to kind of go through the next few slides quite quickly. We've been focusing a lot on elderly parents and that silver tsunami. And here are a number of articles and resources, not only for you, but for your clients. So if you're talking about estate planning, I highly recommend checking out these articles prior to meeting with them for the first session. Another set of important links. This has additions from the last time that we all got together, but want to make sure we've got a running list of it. Social media. We've had the pleasure of working with a number of our TCEs like Lucy, Catherine, Sarah, and Candy to not only do case studies, but social media. Sarah was able to join us for a webinar with Rico. And so if you'd like to get involved with our social media team, please, please, please email me. And also make sure you're using that affiliate link in any of your social links so that you get a kickback. You can play all those later. It's good to go. Okay. Q&A. So here we are. I'd love to just have an open discussion about your experiences. For example, in your discussion with your clients and potential clients about Trustworthy, what are some typical topics that come up, for example? Like security or... Yes. Can't see who raised their hand, but I think
Marty, I think.
Sorry, I was playing with the levers. I have a million questions, but I don't want to bore you guys with this. I hit the hand by accident. At least we know it works. Sorry.
Yeah. Was this update helpful for folks?
Very.
Great. Okay. Well, we love doing these. We try and do at least a couple a year, maybe one a quarter, depending on how much new stuff there is to cover. And Marie's been great at keeping us on schedule with these. I think Shauna had a question.
Yeah, I've asked this before, and I'm sure it's not high on the list, but I'm actually meeting with a group of people tonight to tell them about Trustworthy, but we're in Canada. So just wondering if there's ever going to be an option to kind of toggle things to a more Canadian view, instead of AAA, it's CAA and some of those sorts of things. Is that on the docket anywhere, or?
It is. It's something that we talk about regularly because we do get a lot of Canadian and other international clients. I'm Canadian as well. So getting rid of language like 401k in lieu of RRSP or something like that. So all of those things are definitely on the table. We might do a lightweight pass at just Canada or Australia or things like that are a lot easier to tweak before we get into more intensive localization like German or something like that. So you can expect that. I don't know where it lands on the roadmap, but I think there's some lightweight stuff we can do to support Canada just to make it slightly easier and more intuitive for people. So
we had a Canadian member say, "Oh, we don't have Social Security, but we have Canadian ID, and it fits. We have the same number of digits. It just formats it weird in the app." Mm-hmm. Which is awesome to know that they're sort of making it work, but obviously we want it to feel more native. Canada is likely the first country, or we'd figure out how to create an international version that was non-US specific.
Right. So I've started making a list of things that I've noticed. Is there somebody that I should email with this list? Okay.
Your country person there.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle, I think, yeah. Kyle at Trustworthy or support at Trustworthy, all that stuff we'll get through. What I can do, Shannon, I'll email or I'll share with you a doc that I've got going that's like the list of sort of Canadian localization things that I think are like low-hanging fruit for us to address. And you probably have more to add to it, but I'll share that with you shortly.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Even if I can tell people that it's in the works, then yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And I'd love to schedule time with you to talk about how the conversation goes and like some topics that come up during that conversation so that we can help you all, support you all in these conversations even deeper.
Yes.
Yeah, Kyle has been evangelizing for it for a while. He's just, Canadians are so nice. that quite often other people, Americans especially, like, no, we'll do that later.
We're also so used to working in
Yeah.
US based apps.
US
It's just
lingo.
like, you want a
Yeah.
zip? I know what a zip is. I'll put
Yeah.
90210 in that field and to make it work.
Kelly, you have your hand raised.
I do. Marie, that second to last slide that you showed looked really interesting. Is that in our hub, or where would we find that list of links?
Oh, it's all of those items are in the hub, and I'm going to share this actual doc with you, this whole deck, so that you all can also save them so that it's a reference point as the list grows.
Okay, because I was like, ooh, I want to click on those, but I can't.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have access very shortly.
Great, thank you.
Of course. Laura.
So I am brand new, signed up like less than a week ago. So I'm a little confused, and kind of learning the ropes. But you mentioned various, things like the hub and where do I get that?
These are great questions. Have you completed your certification? You have?
No, I'm in the middle of it, actually.
Okay, right. So once you, by the way, congratulations. We're
Thank
really
you.
happy to have you. Once you complete the certification, I get an email notification. I then respond to you with a number of to-dos, and one of which is to bookmark the resource hub. We don't want it to be.
So I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't want it to live live on the website for anyone to have access, because then, So as soon as you send me the email that says I have completed my certification, you're going to get a number of links, including your affiliate link and marketplace link and everything else. But good question for everyone else here. If you don't have the resource hub link, I'm also linking it in this deck, so you can bookmark it from a number of the slides that I've included.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Diana.
Hello.
Yeah.
Love to see the print option. And as a digital organizer, I get it. It's counterintuitive, but I feel like it's a selling point to a lot of my clients I know. So question on you're able to print like a summary of what's in Trustworthy. Is there a way to do any kind of like a redacted version of that, or maybe a limited version of that? And the reason is because obviously everybody, like sometimes the reason they're printing it is actually to share with somebody or maybe create a binder, but maybe not have everything. So before Trustworthy, I would do this in an Excel spreadsheet, and I would just hide certain columns of information that I wouldn't recommend them print, but it still at least gave them an idea of information we had gathered. So I'm kind of curious if there is something you could do like that.
I think we could. I don't know how customizable we can make it, because when you're working with an Excel sheet, you can take any column you want, any field you want, you can redact that. Building that sort of capacity within Trustworthy would be difficult. But there's fields that we know that we already treat with different technology called tokenization. Those ones we could choose to redact in some way, I would think.
Or it
And
might
maybe
be
just
possible to export to an Excel spreadsheet, because we have really two sets of information. One is documents, which would zip up into a file, and then all the metadata, which would be exported into some format. Could be maybe a spreadsheet would be an option, and then you could choose to redact things.
Yeah.
And it could be a very limited version. I mean, obviously it'd be nice to be able to print information, but sometimes just the super limited version is enough to give them almost like just a cheat sheet. I called it the cheat sheet, like for family members or things like that. Especially for clients that aren't ready to necessarily invite those family members. I think I just run into that from time to time. There's people that they might want to have something like in a safety deposit box or just like that, just in case list.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I feel like that could almost become a selling point if you're doing like an annual review. Being able to do this so quickly almost justifies the cost of having Trustworthy year in and year out, because you could do this so fast.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. This annual review, it's something we could do digitally and in an analog way as well.
And I'd be happy to talk about that like at year end, because it's something that I do with clients, or I talk about with clients. So it's something that I've always done more of on a physical basis to justify, hey, you really need to get this stuff digitally organized. So
yeah, let's take that offline. I'd love to learn more about your process, Marie. If we can maybe set something up with Diana to learn more about that and figure out how to land that for you and for clients.
Yeah, and then just on the print side, same thing with the medical. If there's an ability to maybe just have like a caregiving version, and just it might just be like certain information that a caregiver would need that you could print out, because I think there's a lot of, and I just from personal experience, there's a lot going on when you suddenly have somebody have a medical situation and you have to establish caregiving, that if you could do that within Trustworthy, that would almost justify them setting this up.
That dovetails nicely into another secret initiative that we have happening around directives.
Okay, great. Well, and like I said, I have personal experience. So I'm happy to help on those because I'm in the middle of all that too. So.
And Diana, I love how it's also creating another reason for you to reconnect with clients and have like a reoccurring, session with them.
And to that point, I feel like there's so many wonderful reasons why people should use Trustworthy, but the real reason is not the happy and everything's wonderfully organized. It's when things don't go right, this is when you actually need it, and it's worth its weight in gold. So I feel like there might be some interesting things to do with like blended families or, medical situations. And it's when everything goes wrong that this justifies itself more so than when, everybody's happy and getting along. So I think there's definitely some, something to be said, in that department. So.
Yeah. I have family in Asheville, and I was like, damn it. Wish they had.
If they had it all set up, you could log in and help them out from remote. Yeah. So everything looks great. Thank you for the updates.
Thank you for this. And I will set up time for us to chat even further.
Okay.
What else is on your mind? What other questions can we answer? Good. Well, I'd love to know how this went for you all. Do we think it should be longer? Would we like more discussion? All those sorts of things. Please reach out to me, marie@trustworthy.com. I speak with a lot of you very often, and I love that. And I'm just really happy that this is such a communicative group, and that we are, doing our best to support each other in all of this. Digitization for some of these groups is a challenge and a little bit of a hill to get over. So if you find a messaging or any sort of document that helps get people to understand what we're trying to accomplish, share that with us, and so we can let everyone else know as well. Awesome. Well, thank you all. Thanks for staying a little late. Again, reach out, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone.